Hey guys, Sandra Marcus posted a question recently in Facebook, and I just wanted to spend a few moments and give a little bit of input with regards to that. Let me actually call up the question. I'll read it out or paraphrase it. Sandra said, I have a potential adult student with traditional classical piano background, grade 7 RCM, Royal Conservatory of Music, interested in broadening her music education. She would want to learn blues and accompaniment. Is there a way to use the Simply Music materials to someone who already knows how to read music? My initial answer was no, but I wanted to put it out there anyway. My initial answer is absolutely yes. And we can look at a few scenarios. And typically in any scenario like this, when I'm dealing with someone that's got extensive, formal, traditional background, determining where they're at is really important. And so one of the things that you can do would be to revert to our training materials about working with students with prior experience. We also have that assessment graph where you can start to have a look at across different standards of measure with regards to size of repertoire, breadth of repertoire, what experience they've had in different musical styles and genres, etc. That's something I'd suggest you check out. But, you know, at a practical level, how many people have we all taught over the years that have been extensively trained, really great readers? You take away the music notation and they can't play anything. So just that alone has been a really desirable opportunity for people that have had extensive prior experience where they just want to sever the cord and remove that complete attachment to the page. That can be an enormous benefit. Oftentimes people that have had extensive traditional background, it's been mainly classical centric, and so they haven't had an opportunity to work with contemporary styles, accompaniment, arrangement, composition, improvisation. So there's that opportunity. The third thing about it is that typically that person who's gone right through the system, it's been a very reading-based approach. And you can have someone who's a super competent reader. But look, the thing about it is that in a reading-based environment, in a traditional environment, the base tools of a traditional environment are reading pitch, reading rhythm, reading dynamics and expression and form, more about the technique, more about the theory. They're the predominant components. In a playing-based environment, we're working with a completely different set of tools. We're working with shapes and patterns and ordering and sentences and fragments and mapping. So in some respects, even though the person has a great familiarity with the instrument, it is about learning a new way of learning. And sometimes I'll talk to students and present an analogy like, hey, you and I have been reading for decades, spelling for decades. We've got a mastery over those 26 letters of the alphabet, right? But if I take that alphabet and I reorganize it as German, all of a sudden you're a complete novice. And your mastery in English doesn't really mean you can step into level 4 or level 6 German. No, you've got to start at the beginning and learn the basics of that language. And there's a similarity to that, with that analogy, to working with Simply Music. We need to begin teaching the student the base tools of a playing-based language. You rationalise that two ways. Once they understand the base tools of our program, it will impact their already advanced abilities. Common for people to say they're better players now, they're better readers now, having an understanding of our playing-based tools. The other thing about it is that when you are teaching playing-based tools, you really need to do that in its simplest form, as simple as possible, so that they're learning it without any complexity getting in the way, without any sophistication getting in the way. And it's also super important not to underestimate the power of these simple tools. It's like if we're building a home, you've got these big, solid, heavy bricks, and then you've got this really thin layer of mortar. Which is more important, the bricks or the mortar? Well, both. You can't have the home. The home collapses without both. And it's very similar. We learn simple base tools in the very beginning, but they have far-reaching application and they're really critical to the long-term outcome. So definitely all the program has an enormous amount to offer. When a student starts with me with extensive traditional experience, I start them at the beginning. Now, their pathway through the program can be slightly different or significantly different than a total beginner, because they've got a long-established relationship with the instrument. The speed of progress can be completely different because they've got a long-standing relationship with the instrument. Obviously, a person that's used to playing Chopin preludes and more complex classical music, they're not going to be thrilled by the thought of looking and playing Dreams Come True. But if they can understand what it is that we're doing, we're learning a way of learning, we're learning a whole body of tools, we're going to learn them in the simplest form and start to see how it can be further applied. So how we actually address that is we teach our simple pieces from Foundation 1, but then we would move quickly into the arrangements and the more sophisticated arrangements. Once that person has an understanding of the arrangements, I'd be asking them to start developing their own arrangements. As they're doing that, I'll be looking at the language, the repertoire, the vocabulary that they're building and saying, great, I'd like you to start to create your own compositions using this same vocabulary. I'd like you to start exploring improvisation. You can be falling back on the soundtracks that we provide in Foundation Level 1 because it's sort of limitless how far you could take it from an improvisational perspective. So there's lots and lots of things that you can do. My definitive answer to your question is absolutely yes.